And go together, we saw it.
So
I saw like on social media, that's about so song with me. And I was gonna be open at 30 hours, about it's the first business and the rest of it's process.
You can do karaoke.
We have one, like,
the whole system. Like,
No, it's in, yeah, I know that people around us. It's always something.
this one should be. It's the Thomas said, like it's there's 40 people in the room, and then when they can't hear and see anything that's going on, that it would be worse, but it may not be what you thought.
No, we have a street in back porch, and we sat on the porch and storming. I grew up in Michigan, and it totally reminded me of summer storms in Michigan, because we were dry. We were watching some stupid something on TV, and we were sitting outside in the snow. But I do know that. Yeah.
our power went out like before it started. And then an hour into the time, so it was like something happened.
Yeah. We have a transformer right in the house, so.
It's like, yeah.
So there's like those surgery tucked in. So.
Yeah, this whole.
Rewired.
Somebody north, but I'm wrong place.
Like the Amy.
Yeah. Local rights.
Several papers.
Oh, is that right? Not surprising.
Jerry. Oh.
So to be in CA.
Sounds awesome.
Summarize.
We were like,
How far along is this? I doubt it. If I know the person that I was talking about. How far along is this? Some, whatever, it used to be, some, but still in the. How far along are they?
Yeah, I think they've been slowly building it up. Because the more learn, keeps them from doing anything. So.
I
think there's some.
But either way, it's because sometimes you get so not that obvious, but they'll have to put a plan forward and just on specifics. Because we don't know. I mean,
The orders get passed.
yeah, it's supposed to be. It was. It's not looking unanimous, but you know, some people. So they want to like it all go and talk about something, you know, like smaller. Oh, it's all so it's a good thing.
For schools, parks, and both.
Yeah, there's people. That must be too concerned. Like, the other, others. It's not extending, yeah. Like you can make it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 6:00.
Yeah, but that's.
For those who just arrived, we are sharing a microphone tonight.
Yeah.
So for any speaking, we're going to be passing the mic left to right. And so everybody needs, before you say anything, you need a mic.
So and the mic needs to be illuminated green to pick you up.
To make him up.
And we have users set over there now quickly for you. It is once the screen is shared, you'll see what's on the screen, and we put you up also the packets. So this is everything that they in the packet. And it's nice, you want to skip through. But as the default, we have it on this, so when the screen gets shared, I see what's on there.
Thank you.
Hi, you're Alex, my student, nice to meet you, Scott.
I was like,
Let's put that.
hi, Alex, I'm Deb.
Deb.
And Debbie.
Debbie.
Debbie, that's not confusing.
Right. Oh, thank you.
Small.
Ready? All right, let's go ahead and call the July 9th, 2024 meeting of the Dunwoody Planning Commission to order. It's shortly after 6 p.m. And we are speaking with everybody on a single microphone tonight, so we're going to do our best to pass this around efficiently and make this happen. We have a pretty hopefully straightforward agenda this evening. And so before we get into our agenda, though, I'd like to note the presence of Alex Wallach to my right on the desk, a brand new commissioner taking the place of Erica Harris, who went on to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So welcome, Alex. We're glad you're here. First order of the day. Typically we start on one end or the other. Let everybody know we're going to start this way today, just so you get a vibe of what's happening there. First thing we're going to go ahead and do is call roll. And so I'm going to walk the microphone down and we can just pass it all the way down. That would be great.
Debbie Gordon. Jackie Evanson. Deb Cameron.
Thomas O'Brien.
Liz Shen.
Scott Brown. Alex Wallach.
Well, that went smoothly. Next order of business that we'd like to take care of is approval of the minutes. Let's see, these are going to be the June 11th, 2024 Planning Commission minutes. I'd like to remind commissioners that on this matter, everybody votes. Even if you weren't here, everybody votes. So with that in mind, and this is going to be mildly complex here. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, would somebody care to make a motion? Okay, I'm going to hand the mic to you.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Commissioner Cameron moved that we accept the minutes as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Shin seconded. This microphone thing's really working well so far. Hearing a motion and a second, is there any debate at this time, or questions to be asked at this time? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed. All in favor of approving the motion, please raise your hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. All right, next order of business. We need to elect a vice chairman or chairperson. And this term of this vice chair is going to end on December 31st, 2025. So if there is somebody who would care to form a motion or identify an individual, please make that part of your motion, indicating that the end of term will be 12/31/2025. And so with all that said, is there anybody who would care to form a motion? Gotta be somebody who would care to form a motion.
I nominate Scott Brown as vice chair.
Okay, Commissioner Cameron is nominated Scott Brown as vice chair. Can I go ahead and ask you to put the date in there to fill the remainder of the term, form the motion?
I move that we elect Scott Brown as vice chair of the Dunwoody Planning Commission to serve as vice chair through December 31st of 2025.
Thank you very much. Hearing that motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Gordon seconded that. Hearing a motion and a second, is there any debate, discussion, or questions at this time? Seeing none, I believe that it's appropriate to move to vote. All in favor of the motion as vocalized, please raise your hand. All opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. All right. At this time, we will go ahead and, well, is there any unfinished business to deal with at this point? Okay, then we'll go ahead and consider new business, please. That's review and consideration of a text amendment to amend chapter 16 to provide streetscape design standards for certain areas of the city. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So these streetscape concepts are coming to you all, because we contracted Kinley Warren, to provide them. The proposed text amendment will require any future development in the area to implement the adopted streetscapes. The rationale behind this is that the comprehensive plan recommends making the larger Mount Vernon East area more bike and pet friendly. Additionally, we're anticipating that there may be redevelopment in that area in the pipeline. There's nothing going on right now, but in a couple of years, that area is fairly ripe for redevelopment. So we're wanting to have these standards in place before any redevelopment would take place. And the proposed streetscape would also tie into the planned Mount Vernon side path that would connect into Dunwoody Village and is part of the Trail Master Plan generally. So chapter 16 is our land development regulations, and those have existing streetscape requirements for the city for arterial and collector streets and local streets. Those include things such as sidewalk width, etc. And so those apply generally to the city, but then we also have some specific areas. So Dunwoody Village and Perimeter Center both have their own streetscape requirements, and those are located in the zoning ordinance. So among other sort of triggers, streetscape requirements are triggered by things like the addition of 8 or more parking spaces, structural improvements to existing buildings that exceed 25% of the excess value, new buildings or building additions that increase the existing floor area by more than 10%, and a change in use or method of operation that results in a 20% or more increase in traffic generation potential. So this is sort of an overview of the proposed streetscape design standards. So you can see that this is for 3 routes. So for Dunwoody Club Drive, Mount Vernon, and Jet Ferry. So this area has 2 shopping centers with offices. It's one of our sort of smaller commercial areas. Just to orient you all, on the left-hand side is where the Chick-fil-A and like the East 48th Street Market are, and then over in sort of the center of that triangle is where there's the CVS, and there used to be a Lidl there. So that's the general area we're talking about. And then all of the sidewalks that would go directly around the triangle would include a 12-foot sidewalk with a landscape strip. And so you can see that a bit more here. And so for Dunwoody Club Drive, the reason why there's only improvements on one side is because the other side is Sandy Springs. And in Mount Vernon Road, the side closest to the commercial district would have that same 12-foot site path, available for use for bicyclists, pedestrians, and then the landscape strip. And in the section on the other side, closer to the homes, the residential neighborhood would have a 6-foot sidewalk, which is standard for residential neighborhoods. So staff is recommending approval on this one, and as always, I'm available for any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you very much. At this time, since this is a public hearing, we'll allow folks to come up, 10 minutes speaking in four. Don't see anybody in the audience, so I'm kind of doing this as a formality. Anybody speaking in favor of this? Seeing none, we have 10 minutes to speak against. Anyone? All right, well, at this time, then I think it's appropriate that we hand this over for questions and discussions. I'm going to walk the microphone down to my left, and we will just do our best to kind of progress the way we usually do, handing the microphone one person at a time.
I don't have any questions at this time.
I actually have one question. Did you guys talk to Sandy Springs at all about the improvements we're doing and if they were gonna do something similar, or maybe it looks like that?
Yes. We did. They have different ideas. So they're pursuing their ideas, and so we're pursuing ours.
Are they vastly different?
They require parking on the street. So they're gonna turn the outside lane into parallel parking at some point.
Just curious, get a picture.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're gonna turn the outside lane into parallel parking on Tokenie Slope Drive.
Right.
Is that only if it's redeveloped? Or are they doing that regardless?
I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll have to ask them.
Which I can. This one is part of their overall zoning. It's similar to how we have specific street standards. This one is specific to the zoning district over there, and that would require mixed use development, buildings close to the street. And when that happens is when the parallel parking would come into play as well.
And is that whole shopping center where there's Kroger and Mexican restaurant, that's all in Sandy Springs? And just, I guess the only separate question from that is this is only going to come into play if there's some kind of redevelopment?
Yeah, so it would come into play for any of those triggers that I mentioned earlier, which broadly happen with larger redevelopment.
And that's addition of 8 parking spots.
Right, or new buildings, sort of really expanding the existing buildings, stuff like that. Okay. Thanks.
Hi, I have some questions, since it comes to transportation. First thing is, in the typical sections, it's showing a 5-foot minimum landscaping strip. But in the updated table, it shows 5-foot minimum, but the previous language in the code says 6-foot minimum. I'm wondering, like, why are we going from 6 to 5?
Probably the area, and just taking up as little right of way as possible. Judging from the 12-foot sidewalk, we're just trying to squeeze it in as best we can.
I guess the same goes for in the table of the recommendations when it comes to the curb and gutter widths. That's based on existing conditions and what can the board put together.
Yeah, so that's what Public Works prefers.
I wish Public Works was here. A lot of the questions probably pertain to what they might require or guided what this, these typicals look like. There's not necessarily consistency with the curb and gutter in this like triangle area. One of the legs requires 6-inch curb and gutter. The other two require 2-foot curb and gutter, but only obviously the one side is 7 feet and the other side is 8 feet. But like tying that in drainage wise, and then I'm sure there's the road, maybe got the over the gutter can, maybe that's why it's a 6-inch. there's not like consistency for all three.
I can't answer that question, but I know we talked about it and a lot with Kinley Horn and Public Works.
This is an overall question, and in the packet, you go into the code that's kind of supports the streetscape requirements. And the typical sections that are shown within that have the 4-foot bike lane width. I want to challenge that and say that's no longer the minimum required width for bike lanes, it should be 5 foot.
We have this flag, I mean, this is sort of why we do this piecemeal approach, sort of a little bit. When we did it for Perimeter Center a couple of years ago and then for the village. We have this on our list of things for the code rewrite, to certainly look at those. We're not really building a ton of 4-foot bike lanes anywhere in the city anymore.
Yeah, that was my kind of follow up, was hopefully this gets rewritten, but that's good for here. Beyond this text amendment. One of, I guess now understanding too that Dunwoody Club Drive is. The one side is just Dunwoody and one side is Sandy Springs, and that's why. How it's listed, it says like eastbound only. But then one of the requirements within the code is like fee in lieu of if it's triggered by grading or certain constraints. The topography that's out there that's on that property side would basically automatically trigger that. There would need to be a wall or something to fit this proposed typical section, so I'm wondering. Like, was that something Kinley Horn and Public Works and you guys like how does that fit with it, knowing that section, that's the main club drives, that's automatically gonna trigger that, like whoever the developer is, that's probably the route they're gonna take, understanding the topography challenge that is typical in.
And we tend to not allow payment in lieu unless it makes sense, unless it ties into a larger project. We typically require them to build it. In select cases, like if we have a full corridor project. Yeah, coming in the next year or two, we may do that, but it's not something we typically do, especially for this one. If it gets redeveloped and then picked up, especially the. The triangular parcel, which is 1 or 2 property owners. So we would require that it be built as part of the redevelopment.
I think how the code is written, though, that that's like a hardship case, that they can do that though.
Yeah, I do not think that something like this would classify as a hardship. If walls need to be built so that they're accommodated, then they need to be built. Yeah.
And then something that's also a greater discussion when it comes to streetscape requirements, I noticed in the graphic that this is on the part of the bus route. Is there plans in the code rewrite to include like a minimum kind of design? Or like design recommendations when it comes to doing bike ped improvements and then also transit, obviously in this case.
Yeah, we looked at the MARTA, and they demand, 11-foot widths, which is why they happen here. There's also a pullover on Mount Vernon for the buses.
It's not about the building, so not the street lane,
But
like the loading zone as far as bus stops, like coming up, like our minimum sidewalk width or something. Or is there guidance that we can put into our code if anything's like on a
yes,
bus route?
Yeah.
That there would need to be a minimum design that developers have to comply with.
that'll go with the bigger group, right?
I just wanted to get a little clarification on the, I know we're adding, so Jet Ferry, for instance, we're adding, sidewalk width to both sides in addition to some buffer areas. What's the impact to the roadway itself? Is that, are we Where, I guess I'm asking where we're getting the right of way for having those expanded sidewalks and sidewalk zones.
Yeah, partially on Jetferry, we have excess pavement between the curbs, so that would have to be moved. Partially, there are, especially on Jetferry, there are additional right-of-way requirements that we don't have enough right-of-way. It's sort of shown in light blue on this, if you really look closely. So for parts of it, would be from using existing paved area by reducing the lanes. Part of it would be additional right of way that's required as part of this, as part of any development.
But there's no modifications to lanes themselves, right, other than possibly a width reduction. Like we haven't taken out any left turn lanes or created any, I guess, operational impacts to the roadways via this new streetscape that's proposed.
So there's no impacts on Mount Vernon. I do not know. I think there's no impacts on Jetferry either. Yeah, so. Don't know for sure, but I think there's no lanes being taken out, no turn lanes.
Okay. So it seems like it's just coming from a slight reduction in the width of the travel lanes, plus kind of eating into maybe some of the landscape areas on private property. And that's how we're getting to the.
Yeah, that's correct, and partially would go into some of the parking spaces too, which would have to be considered as part of our overall redevelopment of this.
I mean, the lines look fairly clean. We're not losing parking, but I would assume under a redevelopment. Be modifying the parking lots, anyway, but, okay. So I know there's the planned trail. That, you know, we're having improvements to the triangle, but then there's the planned trail on Mount Vernon Road. I guess maybe this is a silly question, but why are these streetscape improvements not continuing down Mount Vernon west of this area?
And that is a separate project, that's a program project already. So we have a placeholder language there that's trail master plan proposed network, but it would continue the same thing, like a 12-foot side path with 5-foot landscape strip further down. So it's supposed to tie in neatly and continue the same cross section further through this district.
Okay, and then on the south side of Mount Vernon Road, what you're asking for is kind of consistent with the new sidewalks that have been built on Mount Vernon Road.
Yeah, so we typically now our typical standard is a 6-foot sidewalk, and this is the same here.
Okay, and so that's the same as kind of what's been built near like St. Luke's Church and Vernon Oaks Drive down at that area, the new sections of sidewalk.
I can't say for sure, but we're typically building all new sidewalks as 6 feet.
Okay. And then last question is just through this process with Kimley Horn, or you guys creating the zoning rewrites, did you do any coordination with the land owners?
So partially we did, not with all of them, but the bigger ones. The branch owns the shopping center instead of the Triangle is actually coming to you all in the next few months for zoning changes. So not everybody necessarily, but the bigger landowners are aware of it.
And any feedback from them?
You had anything?
I met with them last week, and Joe Seconder met with them as well. And they discussed the streetscapes, they were comfortable with it.
That's all for me.
I guess I have one kind of technical question that goes back to the triggers slide. It talks about the second point is structural improvements to existing buildings that exceed 25% of assessed value. Is that 25% of the pre-improvement? Or 25% of the total value once it's been improved?
My understanding is that it's the pre-improvement and it's based on a period of 12 months or something like that prior.
For whatever it's worth in the future, we probably ought to specify exactly which comparative, where you're starting the base, is it base plus 25 or future minus 25? It ought to be really clear there because it's ambiguous.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that.
That's all I got.
I'll keep it quick here. I just want to make sure that I understand I'm reading this correctly. On the residential side, so that's going to be, the only residential exposures appear to be on Mount Vernon, on the kind of southeastern side of the triangle, if you will. We are looking on that side of the street at only having 6-foot sidewalks, which would be in keeping with not only plans on down Mount Vernon, but also kind of addressing maybe prospectively any concerns of folks that are worried about having 12-foot sidewalks in their activities. Is that correct?
Correct, 6-foot sidewalks are our standard for residential neighborhoods.
Okay, I know, but I know there was prior concern about some of the trail master plan and the size of the sidewalks, so I want to make sure. We got it on record here. Residential.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be 12 feet.
And how many combinations do you think need to occur for this plan as it's written to actually have
Hopefully 0.
0? Okay.
Yeah, the goal is not to condemn anything for this. This is not a priority project for the city at the moment. It's to get plans in place for future redevelopment. So we have it, the ultimate goal for this would be to build segments as it gets redeveloped. And then ask for right-of-way dedications as part of the zoning process.
Okay. Are there, yes, Commissioner Cameron?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong drawings. Is there going to be no bike lane on any of these streets?
So the 12-foot site path is, specifically designed for that width in order to be able to accommodate bicyclists and pedestrians. So it's sort of a multi-use path, if you will.
Got it, thanks.
Okay, folks, any more questions?
There's just one clarifying question, based on what Alex was talking about with those triggers. Those triggers that you showed on the screen, those are not part of what you guys updated as part of this text, correct? Those are,
Correct.
those apply to general provisions throughout the zone code.
Yeah, those are existing in the code.
Okay, all right.
For the trail master plan proposed network on the graphic that's on Mount Vernon, what is the width and typical section? That's in the trails master plan, correct? So what's that design?
It's the same, it's 12-foot wide trail and 5-foot landscape strip.
Also recommended width for a side path is 14. What? That's fine, that's 12 feet, but.
Yeah, we asked the Path Foundation as part of that process to develop us default cross sections and that's what the city council adopted.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments, concerns, items of discussion? Seeing none, would anybody care to form a motion, and in so doing, I'll run the microphone over to you if you wish to do so.
Okay, I will form a motion to approve the text amendments. To amend chapter 16. Of the code to provide streetscape design standards for certain areas of the city. For Jeff Ferry Road, Mount Vernon Road, and Dunwoody Club Drive.
I've heard a motion to approve this as it's written, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, hearing a motion, do we have a second?
Second,
All right, so Commissioner Brown moved and Commissioner Edmondson seconded to approve this as written. At this point, it would be appropriate to have debate or further questions. Are there any at this point? Hearing and seeing none, I think it's appropriate to move on to the voting portion of this. All in favor of approving the motion as it's formed, raise your hand. All opposed, like sign. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, with that said, it looks like we have a very short rest of the agenda. Is there any other business? Is there any public here to comment? Is there any commission comment? And I will run the microphone over to you, should you wish to make comment.
Just wanted to welcome Alex first of all, and then also. Say thank you to you all, honored to be elected as vice chair, and I hope Thomas will attend every meeting so that I don't have to run them, but I'm happy to do so in his absence.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. I think you're going to do a terrific job, and I'm glad to have you on the team here as well. And Commissioner Wallach, Alex, who I've known for a few years now, welcome. We're glad you're here, and I think for those of you that don't know, he's going to be a great value add. So, anything else? Hearing none, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.